In the hush of midnight, when the world above lies still and shadows fall long across the floor, we drift together into a quieter place. A place older than gods and deeper than time. Welcome to the underworld, not of terror or screams, but of ancient secrets and soft whispers, where souls glide like mist and rivers sing lullabies only the dead can hear. This is the realm beneath the world, tucked just beneath our waking minds, where forgotten myths rest beside broken oaths and dreams float silently down black waters. In the world of Percy Jackson, the underworld is more than a myth. It's a living, breathing space of stories untold, doorways unopened, and memories buried like treasure. We will travel gently, step by step, through every layer, from the silent gates that flicker under Los Angeles, to the shore of the River Styx, where Karen waits with glowing coins in his palm, from the echoing groves of Asphodel, where the average souls wander in circles of reflection, to the blazing towers of the fields of punishment, where the cruel whisper to themselves in firelight. And beyond even that, we will walk softly through the golden meadows of Elysium, where eternal peace hums like an invisible harp in the breeze. Along the way, we'll pass Cerberus, who guards the gates not with cruelty, but with purpose. We'll listen to the stories of those who once lived like Orpheus, who sang his way through death, or Nico D'Angelo, the son of Hades himself, who knows this world like a second home and carries more weight in his young heart than most do in a lifetime. You'll hear the pulse of ancient oaths that bind gods to fate, like Achilles bathing in the Styx, and the silent cry of the river Lethe, where memories dissolve into nothingness. But here, tonight, nothing is forgotten. Every whisper is remembered. Every shadow carries meaning. As we descend together, let each breath be slower, each heartbeat softer. There is nothing to fear, here only stillness, only story. This is not a tale of punishment, but a place, of doors that only open for those who truly listen. So rest your head, close your eyes if you haven't already, and let go of the light above. The elevator is humming, the walls grow colder, and the air shifts to something timeless. You are entering the underworld, and the underworld welcomes you. Far beneath the surface of the world we know, hidden under layers of myth and shadow, lies a vast kingdom older than Olympus, more ancient than any Titan, and wrapped in silence like a cloak, the underworld ruled by the quiet, stern god, Hades. The world above is full of noise and haste, but here, everything moves like drifting smoke. And within this shadowed realm, there are lands, not one, but many realms inside realms, each whispering a different fate. The first place most souls arrive is the great plain of Asphodel, a gray, endless field under a sky that never truly brightens or darkens. This is where the ordinary spirits wander, those who lived neither evil nor heroic lives. They walk slowly, often aimlessly, through reeds and soft ashes, their footsteps never quite touching the ground. The air smells of old flowers and forgotten dreams. It's not sad, not really just quiet. A quiet that wraps around your thoughts and slows time until everything becomes memory. Then there are the fields of punishment, dark cliffs cracked by fire, with rivers of lava trickling through a cursed valley of iron and chains. This is where the truly wicked are sent, souls who broke oaths, spilled innocent blood, or defied the laws of the gods. You might hear a scream far off, or see a flicker of flame dance along the wall. But in truth, the punishment here is more eternal than violent, endless repetition, regrets looping forever. Some spirits push boulders uphill only to have them fall again. Others are chased by shadowy beasts they can never escape. It's a place of justice, not cruelty, a mirror of the darkest acts committed above. But then, in contrast, lies Elysium, the golden reward for the brave, the noble, the pure-hearted. Imagine meadows where the grass hums with light, where laughter sounds like wind chimes, and the sun never burns too hot. The souls here live in peace, dancing in white robes, writing poetry, or sailing endless seas under starlit skies. Heroes of old like Achilles, Perseus, and even Daedalus walk these fields. If a soul chooses to be reborn 3 times and earns Elysium each time, they may enter the Isles of the Blessed, the deepest paradise of all. A secret garden of serenity where the soul finds final release. But Elysium is not earned easily. It is weighed and judged. Just beyond these great regions lies the River Styx, coiling through the underworld like a black ribbon of fate. It is cold and thick, and it binds oaths like chains. When a god swears on the Styx, they are bound by it, absolutely break the promise, and you die or suffer greatly. The river is guarded by Charon, the silent ferryman who rows the dead across its still waters for a fee, a gold coin placed under the tongue of the dead. He says nothing, only gestures, guiding his boat across to the gates of Hades. Beyond the gates sits Cerberus, the 3-headed dog, eyes glowing and nostrils steaming, but his role is not to scare, only to ensure no soul escapes. Deep within the palace lies the throne room of Hades himself, dark and polished with obsidian floors and torches that burn blue. Hades is not the devil. He is not cruel or unjust. He is a god of balance, of endings, of final truths. He sits beside Persephone, his queen, who brings warmth when she returns each spring and causes the land above to wither when she descends once more. Their love is complex, not the stuff of fairy tales, but rooted in seasons and sacrifice. Branching from the Styx are other rivers, each with its own story. There's the Lethe, the river of forgetfulness, where souls go to lose their past, to be reborn without the weight of memory. Then there's the Acheron, the river of pain, whose cries echo in the deepest valleys. The Phlegethon, a river of fire, flows beside the fields of punishment. And finally, the Cocytus, the river of lamentation, which weeps alongside lost dreams and unfinished stories. All of these rivers weave through the underworld like threads in a tapestry, shaping its geography and moods. The terrain shifts subtly, depending on where you stand. The palace of Hades, built of black marble and guarded by silent specters, is the heart of it all. Near it are fields of bones, groves of obsidian trees, and gardens where Persephone once planted pomegranate seeds that still shimmer with half-light. There are caves that echo your thoughts back to you, and winds that whisper the names of forgotten heroes. The underworld in Percy Jackson is not evil, it is layered, it is complex, it is necessary. It holds space for sorrow, for memory, for endings that make room for beginnings. Sometimes, demigods enter it like Percy, Annabeth, or Nico, not to die, but to understand. Their steps are careful, their hearts heavy, but always they learn something about themselves by walking among the dead. Whether it's to retrieve a soul, find a lost truth, or challenge Hades himself, the journey through these realms is more than physical, it's spiritual. And as you picture it now, the gates behind you slowly creak open, the air grows cooler, and the flicker of ghostly torchlight begins to guide your way. You are not lost. You are wandering. And wandering here is a kind of peace. a dream beneath the world, held still in myth. So let your breath settle. The realms of Hades are wide, and the story is only just beginning. Beneath the quiet folds of the underworld, there flow not one, but 5 rivers, each ancient, each powerful, each more than water. They are memory, punishment, sorrow, and silence made liquid, threading the land of the dead like veins of myth. These rivers aren't just geography, they are emotion given form, and each one whispers a story to any soul who dares to drift too close. First comes the Styx, the river of unbreakable oaths, the most feared and respected of them all. Its waters are black, thick as oil, and cold enough to kill a god's voice. To swear on the Styx is to chain your very soul. Even the Olympians honor it. When Achilles was dipped in this river as a child, all of him became invulnerable, except the heel left untouched. Its power is seductive, but always comes with a cost. The Styx coils like a snake around the palace of Hades, and its echoes sound like promises lost to time. Then there is the Lethe, the river of forgetfulness, soft and ghostly, pale blue and silver under a sleep-lit sky. Souls who wish to be reborn must drink from the Lethe, surrendering their memories, their names, their entire story, all to start again. It winds gently through dreamlike meadows where spirits wander until they're ready to let go. The Lethe hums a lullaby, coaxing identity into sleep, and those who drink it do not scream or cry. They simply become still. Nearby flows the Acheron, the river of pain. Its current churns with silent agony, and its surface ripples like old wounds reopening. It's the river of regret, where lost souls weep, not from punishment, but from sorrow for chances missed, for words unsaid, for lives wasted. It doesn't burn. It doesn't pull you under. It simply mirrors back what you carry until the weight becomes too much. Heroes avoid it unless they must pass through to reach the deeper places, and even then, they whisper prayers to whatever gods might hear. Then there is the Phlegethon, the river of fire, glowing like magma in the darkest parts of the underworld. It pours like lava across obsidian rock, steaming and hissing, casting shadows that dance like flames on the walls. This river does not destroy flesh, it burns spirit. The unworthy, the traitorous, the cruel, their souls are drawn to the Phlegethon, where they face the heat of truth. But in some myths, it also has healing power. In one tale, the Titan Prometheus was kept alive by its fire, a fire that both tortures and sustains. It is pain, but pain that reveals. And finally, there is the Cocytus, the river of wailing, the coldest of them all. Its water is clear, icy, and slow-moving, and the air around it is heavy with grief. The Cocytus does not scream, it sobs. It weeps for the forgotten, for those lost in time, for those who died without names. Its banks are littered with memories that no one remembers, faces no one sees. Even the dead are quiet near the Cocytus, afraid that their own sadness might join the chorus. In the world of Percy Jackson, these rivers are not just background, they are alive. They respond to emotion. The Styx boils when an oath is broken. The Lethe glows brighter when someone is ready to let go. The Acheron moans softly when sorrow is near. The Phlegethon hisses when someone lies. And the Cocytus is always crying. Together, they form the boundaries of Hades' realm, wrapping around the fields of asphodel, punishment, and Elysium like silent sentinels. Some are crossed with fairies, others are forbidden, and still others may appear unexpectedly when a soul is ready. Demigods like Nico D'Angelo have touched these waters. Nico has crossed the Styx and returned at great cost. and knows what it feels like to carry a river's rage inside your bones. And Percy, too, has faced the Styx when he sought invulnerability. He found it by surrendering himself to the river's power, anchoring his soul to Annabeth, his one point of weakness. The rivers are not just metaphors. They are tests. They are guardians. And in the darkest places of the underworld, where these rivers meet deep in the caverns of Tartarus, their energies blend into something older than death, something alive. But even in their isolation, the rivers remember the world above. Sometimes they pulse stronger when great heroes die, or tremble when a god is in pain. They are tied to fate, to prophecy, to the very structure of the soul. And if you listen closely, if you sit by their banks and close your eyes, you might hear something strange, not voices, not words, but feelings, a memory you forgot, a promise you never made, a sorrow you've never known, but suddenly understand. They speak in emotion, not language, and they never lie. So sleep now, listener. Let the rivers guide you, not to fear, but to reflection. As you float through the Lethe, breathe out your worries. As the Styx hums beneath your thoughts, feel the gravity of truth. Let the Cocytus hold your sadness, and the Acheron forgive it. And if your heart ever burns with purpose, the Phlegethon will know. These are the rivers of the dead. But in the world of Percy Jackson, there are also rivers of transformation. You are not drowning. You're just drifting. Gently, quietly, home. At the heart of the underworld, where even the shadows dare not shift too loudly, stands the Palace of Hades, a monument not of gold or glory, but of stillness, gravity, and the haunting elegance of eternity. Unlike Olympus, which floats above the world in bursts of color and song, this palace is carved into the bones of the earth, sculpted from obsidian and onyx, with columns that seem to disappear into the black sky above, and floors so smooth they reflect the faces of ghosts like water. No fire burns in its hearths, yet the place is never cold. No light shines through its windows, yet nothing is hidden. The air is thick with memory, not the kind that whispers names or dates, but the weight of every step ever taken, every tear shed, every farewell uttered in the world above. And within that silence walks Hades, the king of the dead, the lord of the underworld, not evil, not cruel, simply inevitable. His robes flow like shadows. His crown is forged from fragments of starlight and stone, and his eyes see through flesh, through lies, into the deepest parts of what makes a soul. He is not lonely, for he is surrounded by a court of the forgotten, the punished, the exalted, and the waiting. Persephone, his queen, walks beside him for part of the year. Her presence brings a strange blooming to the palace gardens, where pomegranate trees bloom with blood-red fruit, and even the dead seem to breathe more deeply. Her laughter is rare but soft, and it echoes down the marble halls like a song half remembered. She brings with her the scent of spring, which clings faintly to the walls until her departure, when it fades again into solemn stillness. Their throne room is vast and echoing, built not for display, but for deliberation. Here, judgments are passed not with thunder or rage, but with quiet nods and unreadable expressions. The judges of the dead, Rhadamanthus, Minos, and Iacchus, sit nearby, draped in neutral robes, weighing the lives of mortals not by their glory, but by their choices. In the world of Percy Jackson, the palace is both feared and revered. Demigods who venture into the underworld rarely do so lightly, and those who glimpse the throne of Hades never forget it. Nico D'Angelo has stood in that hall, a child of Hades himself, feeling the pull of his father's presence like a gravitational force. The palace does not welcome, it accepts. It does not punish, it balances. Behind its halls stretch private rooms, ancient archives filled with scrolls of the dead, weapons sealed away from time, and secrets no living god dares speak aloud. The walls hum faintly with the River Styx, which encircles the palace like a moat of unbreakable promise. And sometimes, if you pause by the arched windows, you can see the mist rising from its black current, drifting through the stone like breath. Cerberus, the three-headed guardian, is often curled by the palace gates, enormous, loyal, misunderstood. He does not bark without reason. He does not chase. He simply watches, each head alert for a different danger. One for intruders, one for escapees, and one for the lies that souls tell themselves. Hades' court is a reflection of him, not harsh, but firm, not angry, but just. The dead do not speak here unless summoned, yet their presence is felt in the quiet press of the atmosphere, in the flicker of torchlight that dances for no wind. Sometimes a mortal hero is brought before the court not to be judged, but to be tested. In the books, Percy has walked these halls with hesitation, and each step was like walking through the weight of history. The floor didn't echo, it absorbed. The doors didn't creak, they parted like fog. In this realm, even the Furies bow their heads. The walls are lined with statues, not of gods, but of moments a mother clutching a child, a soldier looking up at the stars, a farmer planting a final seed, all frozen in stone, yet pulsing with meaning. These are the lives that pass through, honored not for greatness, but for depth. And deep within the palace lies a quiet chamber, where Hades speaks not as ruler, but as witness, a place where the newest arrivals are welcomed gently into their rest. Here, his voice is not booming, but quiet and tired, as if he has seen too much to speak quickly. He does not forget a single soul, and yet he carries no burden, because to him, every ending is simply part of the pattern. The palace exists not to rule, but to preserve. It is the memory of all things, and in its silence is something strange, not fear, not despair, but peace. You are no longer running. You are no longer chasing. You are home. So now let your eyes soften. Let the marble floor stretch beneath you. Let the pillars rise. Let the river murmur. Let the flickering torches cast their glow. Let Hades pass without speaking. Let Persephone smile once, briefly, and rest. The palace of Hades is not the end of your story, but tonight it is the quiet chapter between two dreams. And that, dear listener, is enough. Beyond the gates of Hades' palace, where the air is neither hot nor cold, but still enough to carry memories, lie the great divisions of the underworld, the three eternal realms where mortal souls come to rest, to dream, or to atone. Each region is distinct, not just in purpose, but in mood, like three chapters in the same ancient story, each whispered into the earth by the footsteps of the dead. First comes the field of asphodel, an endless plain of pale, ghostly grass swaying under a colorless sky. This is where most souls arrive, not evil, not heroic, simply human. The air is quiet, heavy with forgotten names and long-lost voices, as millions of spirits wander slowly through the fog, not in torment, but in stillness. Here, in Percy Jackson's world, the field of asphodel is depicted as a place where souls who lived average, unremarkable lives walk without memory of their identity, murmuring softly as though trying to recall something important that just slipped away. The grass underfoot is springy but dry. The wind smells of ash and violets, and the only sound is the gentle crunch of eternity. It's not cruel, but it is lonely, a gentle reminder that life, when lived without passion or choice, leads to a kind of emptiness. Percy once walked this field, and he noticed how the souls didn't notice him at all. They had forgotten themselves, trapped in the shadow of time, their lives reduced to whispers in the grass. But far beyond this realm lies a glowing border, golden and warm, separating the ordinary from the extraordinary. Cross that invisible threshold, and you enter Elysium, the paradise of heroes. The air changes. A breeze full of music and laughter dances through the trees. Flowers bloom in impossible colors. The sky is always in soft sunset, painted in peach and gold. Souls here live again, in beauty and joy, doing whatever made them feel most alive in the mortal world. Warriors train and spar. Poets write verses on hills of marble. Artists paint with sunlight. And lovers stroll under flowering vines that grow toward the stars. Time doesn't pass here. It simply exists in golden stillness. In Percy Jackson's world, Elysium is the reward granted to those who lived a life of true virtue or great sacrifice. And for those rare souls who choose rebirth 3 times and achieve Elysium each time, there is the Isles of the Blessed, a secret, sacred corner of paradise reserved for the truly legendary. It is said to be the most peaceful place in all of existence, though almost no one has ever seen it. Even Chiron speaks of it in hushed tones. But to reach paradise, one must also avoid the third and darkest realm, Tartarus. And before Tartarus, there is the field of punishment, a brutal and unforgiving region that simmers beneath a sky of black flame and molten clouds. This is where the wicked are sent not by wrath, but by justice. Here, souls are punished not eternally for petty sins, but for conscious cruelty, selfishness, and evil acts that scarred others. Ancient kings are crushed under their own obsidian thrones. Traitors are wrapped in chains forged from broken oaths. The worst criminals relive their actions from the perspective of their victims again and again. It is not hellfire, it is consequence. The punishment matched the crimes in strange, poetic mirrors, as if the underworld itself remembers what the world tried to forget. In Greek lore and Percy's universe, souls like Sisyphus roll their stones uphill only to watch them fall again. Tantalus reaches for food that vanishes before his eyes. These aren't just myths, they are eternal lessons etched into the very dirt of punishment. Nico di Angelo, son of Hades, once described this realm as a place you don't see with your eyes, but with your regrets. It's a place that teaches, though it offers no escape. The boundary between the 3 realms is not a wall, but a thinning of essence. The Elysian breeze doesn't reach the fields of asphodel. The cries from punishment do not echo into paradise. But they are all part of the same soulscape, the afterlife divided not by judgment alone, but by the choices mortals made with their short time in the world above. Occasionally, Charon's ferry glides past the borderlines, carrying new arrivals to be judged, or returning from deeper realms with warnings no one wants to hear. Some demigods in Percy's world have glimpsed all 3 realms. Percy himself once walked the path to Elysium, only to turn back for a friend. It was a choice that defined him to leave paradise for the sake of another. That is the kind of choice that makes a soul worthy of legends. As you drift through this description, imagine yourself walking gently through the asphodel fields. You pass the murmuring spirits, their outlines flickering like candlelight. You step through the glowing veil and into Elysium. The warmth touches your skin. Somewhere, a lyre is playing a tune you almost remember. You lie beneath a tree and feel the grass breathing beneath you. But you don't stop there. You look across the chasm and see the jagged cliffs of punishment in the distance. A place you'll never have to go, because you've lived not perfectly, but intentionally. You chose love. You chose courage. You chose to care. In this world of Percy Jackson, where gods watch from the clouds and monsters slither through shadows, the underworld is not just where stories end, it's where they are measured. And in these three realms, Asphodel, Elysium, and punishment, every soul finds its mirror. So rest now, wanderer. Let your thoughts slow. Let your breath steady. You've walked the fields. You've tasted paradise. You've seen justice. And now, let your own spirit drift softly toward a dreamless sleep. The underworld holds you, but it does not hold you captive. Not tonight. Of all the rivers that wind their way through the Greek underworld, none is more feared, respected, or whispered about than the River Styx, a black, endless current that winds through shadow like a thread of forgotten promises. In the world of Percy Jackson, the Styx is more than just a myth. It is a living force, a sacred stream forged from the binding power of ancient oaths, its waters thick with memory and consequence. When you look upon the Styx, you don't see a reflection. You see your truth. The river coils through the underworld like a serpent of sorrow, cold and shimmering, glowing faintly with the silvery sheen of countless souls that have tried and failed to cross it. In the deep silence of Hades' realm, the river murmurs constantly, whispering names and broken vows, the curses of traitors, the final words of heroes, the dreams of gods. It is said that when a god swears upon the River Styx, their word becomes law, their fate bound by the current's judgment. To break such an oath is to face obliteration. Even Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades tremble before it. But mortals, too, are drawn to its power. In the lore of Percy Jackson, heroes have dared to bathe in its depths, hoping to achieve invincibility. Achilles was the first dipping his body into the river to make himself untouchable, save for the heel by which his mother held him. His fate would echo into legend, and many demigods after him, including Percy, would attempt the same, choosing a singular point of vulnerability in exchange for near total protection. But the price is steep, for the Styx does not give its gifts lightly. As Percy approached the river, guided by Nico D'Angelo and burdened with the knowledge that he might die in the process, he felt its pull on his soul, not a pull of water, but of memory. The Styx strips away your identity, testing whether you are worthy to carry the strength it offers. It floods your mind with every weakness, every failure, every fear you have ever known. Percy saw his mother alone. He saw Annabeth falling. He saw himself as a child, drowning in the weight of prophecy. To survive, he had to hold on to one thought, one tether to who he was. And for him, that thought was Annabeth. The river raged against him, but he endured. And when he rose from its depths, water clinging to his skin like armor, he was changed, stronger, quieter, wiser, but always aware of the heel he could not protect. The Styx winds through many corners of the underworld, past the fields of punishment, beneath the bones of ancient titans, curling around the base of Hades' throne like a silent sentinel. Its waters never sleep. Some say that if you listen closely, you can hear it weeping, not for the dead, but for the oaths never kept. The river has no beginning and no end. It flows in circles, in spirals, in dreams. In certain myths, the Styx was born from the goddess Styx herself, daughter of Oceanus and Tethys. She was the first to stand with Zeus in the war against the Titans, offering her children victory, strength, rivalry, and power as allies. As a reward, Zeus decreed that all gods must swear by her name, and so the river became sacred. In the Percy Jackson universe, this connection lives on. The river's power pulses through the ancient contracts that bind Olympus together, through the unspoken rules that even immortals must obey. And yet, despite its power, the Styx is quiet, always moving, never roaring, never loud, like a promise that never fades, even after the voice that made it has fallen silent. Demigods do not linger near its banks. Hades' palace was built at a respectful distance, and even Charon avoids ferrying too close. The boatmen of the dead know that to fall in is to vanish not just in body, but in self. You don't drown in the Styx. You unravel. There are stories, told only in secret, of monsters and mortals who tried to collect its waters, hoping to bottle its strength. They were never seen again. Its magic cannot be owned. It must be earned. When Percy dipped into the Styx, he did so not for glory, but for necessity, to fight Kronos, to protect those he loved. And when he emerged, his skin glowing faintly with divine strength, he carried not pride, but burden. For with great power came the knowledge that one misstep, one blow to his weak spot, would be the end. The Styx is not a blessing. It is a test, one that never stops. Even now, long after the wars of titans and giants, the river flows beneath the underworld, beneath Olympus, beneath the world of dreams. It may be just a legend to most, but to those who have seen it, tasted it, felt its icy touch along their spine, it is real, and it remembers. So as you lie back, drifting deeper into sleep, picture the Styx winding its way beneath your thoughts, not to frighten you, but to remind you of the promises you've kept, of the strength you've hidden, of the one thought that would anchor you, even in your darkest hour. Let that thought carry you now. Let the river flow beside you, never over you. The oaths you make, even in whispers, matter. And just like Percy, you are stronger than the tide. Persephone's name drifts through the underworld like the scent of pomegranate on autumn wind, elusive, bittersweet, and unforgettable. She is queen of the dead, yet not born of death. Daughter of Demeter, goddess of the harvest, Persephone once danced among spring meadows, innocent and sunlit, before the world beneath the earth ever called her name. In the world of Percy Jackson, her presence is gentle yet powerful, quiet but full of ancient weight. When Percy visits the underworld, it is Persephone's influence that makes the shadows bloom. Her quiet touch softens the darkness, bringing life to a place built for endings. Yet her story is one of division, of being torn between worlds. Long ago, she was taken, or perhaps chosen by Hades, god of the dead. Myths differ on the details. Some say he kidnapped her, spiriting her away in a chariot pulled by obsidian horses. Others say she ate the pomegranate willingly, sealing her fate with each seed swallowed. Whatever the truth, the result was the same. A life split in two. 6 months above, 6 months below. The seasons began not with the tilt of the earth, but with the ache of a mother whose daughter vanishes with the falling leaves. When Persephone is on the surface, the world blooms. Birds sing, trees stretch toward the sun, and crops thrive under her mother's joy. But when she returns to Hades' side, the world mourns. Winter falls, frost grips the soil, and everything green holds its breath. In Percy Jackson's mythos, Persephone is not a passive queen. She wields power not just through lineage, but through presence. She does not scream or rage, she speaks, and the ground listens. In The Last Olympian, she forges her own weapon, a blade of Stygian iron that glows with silvery promise. A blade not of conquest, but of balance, life and death, darkness and bloom. Persephone does not rule through fear, but through understanding. The underworld is not her prison. It is her garden. Flowers bloom where she walks, even among bones. The dead do not fear her. They are soothed by her. In a realm ruled by silence, Persephone is the breath between moments. She is the warmth in a cold chamber. And yet, she is not always there. Half the year, she returns to the upper world, and in those months, the underworld shifts. Hades grows quieter. The shadows settle. Even the spirits seem to slumber deeper. But when she returns, when the gates open and her footsteps upon asphodel once more, there is a subtle stirring, a hush that is not fear, but reverence. The queen has returned, and with her comes the sense that even in death, there is something beautiful. The demigods who glimpse her are often struck not by her power, but by her calm. She does not demand recognition. She simply is. And in her being, everything else bends to her rhythm. In the deeper myths of the world, Persephone becomes a symbol of duality of light and dark, of choices made and fates accepted. She represents the eternal return, the cycle of grief and rebirth. She is every person who has ever had to live in two worlds, who has ever held joy in one hand and sorrow in the other. For demigods like Nico D'Angelo, who feel more at home in shadow than in sunshine, Persephone is a figure of comfort. She shows that darkness is not inherently evil, that a life spent in the underworld can still be filled with purpose, with beauty, with grace. And for readers of Percy Jackson, she reminds us that strength comes in many forms, not always in battles or boasts, but sometimes in the quiet decision to bloom where no light reaches. Persephone is not a tragic victim, nor a conquering tyrant. She is balance itself, a goddess who chose to rule beside Hades, not beneath him. And though her time in the underworld is limited by ancient law, her influence is not. She planted something in that realm that cannot be undone, the idea that even among the dead, there can be peace. And so, as you settle into your rest, let Persephone guide you through your own shifting seasons. Think of the moments when you felt torn between worlds, between who you were and who you are becoming, between the comfort of home and the pull of destiny, between summer and winter, sorrow and joy. Like Persephone, you can hold both. You can walk through shadow and still carry spring in your step. The underworld inside you does not have to be feared. It can be gardened. It can bloom. And as you drift into sleep, remember, every ending is just another seed. Every darkness holds the memory of light. And sometimes, the strongest queens are the ones who never stop returning home. Beneath the deepest layers of the underworld, past the rivers and ruins, beyond the cries and calm of asphodel, there lies a quieter, more solemn chamber, not a place of punishment nor a place of peace, but of decision. This is the court of the judges. It is here that every soul must arrive, whether hero or villain, mortal or demigod, rich or poor, brave or cowardly. The judges of the dead three ancient kings, reborn into eternal duty, wait silently to listen, to weigh, and to choose. In the world of Percy Jackson, they are not faceless bureaucrats, but timeless beings who once ruled empires. Minos, stern and cold, once king of Crete, holds law and order above all. Rhadamanthus, fair and honorable, believes in redemption and listens with the gentlest heart. And Iacchus, sharp and ancient, sees through lies like smoke. Together, they judge every soul not by status or wealth, but by the truth that lies beneath all masks. Their chamber is vast, circular, and dimly lit, not gloomy but still. The floor is polished obsidian, reflecting the flickers of distant torches. Shadows dance along the domed ceiling where constellations are carved not stars of the sky, but stars of memory, representing every soul who ever passed this way. Souls stand in the center of the room, silent and patient, their lives unfurling like scrolls of smoke before the judges. Words are not always needed. Memories swirl in the air, shimmering like film reels, playing out the joys and mistakes of a lifetime. For Percy and his friends, the idea of judgment is deeply personal. They fight, stumble, rise and fall, and always wonder, will it be enough? The judges do not look for perfection. They look for courage, for sacrifice, for moments where someone chose kindness over cruelty, bravery over fear. In some ways, their gaze is more powerful than any god's, because the gods may bless or curse, but the judges decide what comes next. 3 paths lie ahead for every soul. Elysium, the fields of bliss, for the brave, the selfless, the just. The asphodel, meadows a quiet, gray place for the ordinary, those who did neither great wrong nor great good. And finally, the fields of punishment, a place of fire and sorrow for the wicked, where every crime becomes a punishment etched in eternity. Some rare souls, truly heroic, may be reborn, and if they achieve greatness in 3 lifetimes, they ascend to the isles of the blessed. This reward is not granted lightly, but only to those who live for others, who carry their pain without letting it darken their hearts. The judges decide all this with calm finality. They are not cruel. They do not rage or shout, but their silence holds weight, and their decisions echo through eternity. For demigods, this moment of judgment becomes a mirror, not of their actions alone, but of who they became in spite of everything. In Percy Jackson's world, we never follow the full trial of every soul, but we feel its presence, the sense that our heroes fight not just for survival, but for a place they hope to rest in someday. Nico D'Angelo, whose very power bends the underworld, walks through these halls with a familiarity no child should carry. Yet even he fears what the judges might say. Even he, born of shadows, wants to be seen for who he truly is, not just the son of Hades, but someone who tried, who loved, who carried the weight of grief and still stood tall. The judges of the dead are the reminder that every choice matters, that what we do in life does not vanish. It carves a path that leads to a door we will all one day face. And in that moment, what matters most is not glory or power, but kindness, mercy, growth. Even the darkest past can lead to Elysium if the heart changes course. And even a life of mediocrity can miss it if selfishness rules the soul. The judges know. They see everything. They do not forget. And yet, there is no fear in their eyes, only understanding. Because they too were mortal once. They too made mistakes. Now they sit in silence, listening to the endless stream of stories that fill the underworld like wind through trees. Some stories make them smile. Some break their stone hearts. And some, just a few, earn a quiet nod, the signal that the soul before them has done enough, that rest has been earned, that the journey is complete. In your dreams tonight, as your breath slows and the world grows still, imagine that moment not with fear, but with peace. Imagine the weight of your life lifted into soft light. Imagine someone seeing you fully and understanding. The judges do not punish without cause. They do not bless without reason. But they do see. And being seen, truly seen, is its own kind of grace. So sleep gently now, knowing that your story matters. That every act of kindness, every hard-won decision, every little moment of courage it echoes. Somewhere, in a chamber deep beneath the earth, a throne waits not in judgment, but in listening. And when your time comes, may your story unfold like a song in the dark, and may the judges nod, not in silence, but in respect. They say the underworld is where all things end, but what if it's also where many things begin? As your eyes grow heavy and your breath slows, imagine for a moment that you're standing at the edge of that great river once more. Not Styx this time, but Lethe, the river of a forgetting. Its waters shimmer with memories not yet washed away. The wind carries a lullaby from long ago, and the air smells faintly of ancient stone, soft moss, and something older still, the kind of quiet that only exists where time has stopped caring. In this moment, you are no longer a visitor, no longer a mortal peering into myth. You are part of the story now, a whisper, a heartbeat, a footstep that echoes among the caverns of legends. And the underworld welcomes you not with cold or cruelty, but with the hush of understanding. All that you've seen in this journey, from the sunless gates of Hades' palace to the flickering lanterns of Asphodel, from the ghost-laced waters of the Styx to the dreamlike calm of the Blessed Isles, has built a new kind of map in your mind. Not a map made of paper, but of emotion, of lore, of whispers between gods. This place that was once feared is now familiar, and strangely, it is peaceful. Maybe it's the way the shadows fall without menace. Maybe it's the way the silence feels full, not empty. Or maybe it's the way the stories are kept alive, not by shouting or monuments, but by those who remember. In Percy Jackson's world, the underworld isn't just a backdrop for a battle. It's a character in its own right. It breathes, it listens, it tests, but it also shelters. It holds the memories of fallen heroes, the regrets of villains, and the quiet dignity of those who never asked to be remembered. There are thrones of obsidian and rivers that hum. There are judges and ghosts and halls so vast they disappear into darkness. But there is also love here. Persephone planting a single seed in the soil, knowing it will bloom next spring. Hades watching over the realm not out of tyranny, but out of duty. Even Nico, the son of death himself, finding friendship and light in the very heart of shadow. These are the layers we carry with us as we leave this tale. The realization that even in the most forgotten places, there is meaning. That even in death, there is depth. And in every end, there are echoes of beginnings. You've walked beside the legends. You've crossed invisible bridges. You've met monsters, mourners, and monarchs. And now, as the story draws to a close, you do not need to remember every detail, just the feeling. That quiet, steady warmth in your chest that says, I've been here. I've wandered through the dark and found something beautiful. That's the real magic. Not the swords or spells or storms, but the softness that lingers after. The hush that follows a great tale. The calm that creeps in when you know the story is done, and you were part of it. As the curtain falls, the lights of the underworld dim not into pitch black, but into a twilight glow like the last few minutes before dreamland. Shades settle back into their routine. Cerberus curls up beneath a crumbling archway. The judges return to their thrones, and Hades, silent as ever, looks toward the riverbank where you once stood. and nods, not as a ruler, but as a storyteller who's seen another listener depart, changed. And now, with everything softening your thoughts, your body, your breath, you realize this story hasn't put you to sleep. It's simply brought you home. Not to a house, not even to a place, but to that quiet place inside yourself where dreams and myths live side by side. And there, curled in the warmth of memory, of myth, of all that has come before, you drift. Let go of the names. Let go of the fear. Let go of the waking world and let yourself fall, gently, into a place older than time, deeper than thought, and safer than you remember. You've walked through the underworld, and you've emerged not as a hero or a ghost, but as someone who saw the darkness and found peace within it. And so, your journey winds toward its final stillness, like a river meandering toward the sea, slow, gentle, and filled with echoes. Each step you've taken in the lands beneath the earth has not only carried you through the mythic pathways of the Percy Jackson world, but through the hidden corridors of your own quiet mind. The stories of the underworld are not just stories of endings, but of acceptance, of truths whispered in dark places, of courage that asks nothing in return. And now, as your breathing falls into rhythm with the soft pulse of this mythic world, you realize that even the deepest shadow needs the softest light. The underworld gave you those lights, the flicker of an ancient torch, the shimmer of Persephone's garden in the gloom, the glow of a drachma tossed into the river to pay for safe passage. Every detail, every whispered moment has been stitched into your memory not to haunt you, but to comfort you. Like the warmth of Nico's friendships carved slowly through cold years, or the weight of Hades' crown that he wears not for glory, but for the steady burden of care. You remember the pomegranate seeds. You remember the howls of Cerberus as a warning and a welcome. You remember the ghosts in the asphodel fields, not evil, just unfinished. You remember Charon's boat, sliding across glassy waters like a sigh. These memories now soften and blur, their edges fading like moonlight across water, becoming not memories, but feelings. You don't need to hold on to the names. You don't need to know all the facts. What matters now at the edge of sleep is the emotion that has wrapped itself around you like a woolen cloak. It is safety and sadness and the peace that comes when everything has been seen and nothing must be judged. Hades himself, so often misunderstood, is not here to punish. He is here to protect what the world forgets. He is the quiet keeper of stories that have ended. He is the pause in the music, the dot at the end of the sentence. And even he is tired sometimes, but he never forgets a single soul. The underworld is not cruel. It is just. It holds the laughter of heroes who never made it home, the regrets of villains who wish they had been different, and the silence of those who were never seen at all. Yet now, because you walked through it, they were seen. You gave them one more moment, and now they rest, just like you will. The river Lethe laps softly at the edge of your thoughts, offering not oblivion, but relief, the freedom to sleep without burden, to drift without fear. You are not falling, you are floating, drifting slowly down, surrounded by the soft glow of myth. You hear footsteps far away, maybe Annabeth's, maybe Percy's, maybe even your own from long ago, and the sound brings no fear, only memory. There is no more quest to finish. No more monster to face, only the exhale, the letting go. The underworld has taught you that even gods have quiet days. Even swords grow dull. Even storms end. And now the lights of Elysium fade like candles on a windowsill. The shadows lengthen, not to swallow you, but to wrap you in stillness. You've seen what lies beneath the world, and it wasn't cruel. It was quiet. And you, brave listener, have returned with its secrets tucked safely in your soul. Close your eyes now. Let the story sink into your dreams. You do not have to carry it anymore. It will carry you through dreams, through sleep, through whatever worlds lie ahead. You are not alone. The shadows are softer now. The voices are distant. The world waits above. But for now, you rest below, in the quiet, sacred dark. And in that silence, everything lives. There is a place deeper than any map can show, where even the shadows grow silent. And if you listen closely, the world itself seems to breathe through 5 eternal rivers. Each one winds through the underworld, like a dream threading through the mind of a sleeping god, and every drop tells a story. The first river is Styx, the Black, binding current of oaths, where even gods dare not lie, for promises sealed here become chains stronger than time. In Percy's journey, he once stood waist deep in its cold waters, forging an unbreakable bond of mortality and power as Achilles had done before him, and the river whispered ancient names into his ears, names of those who had broken oaths and drowned in their deceit. The second river is Lethe, the silver stream of forgetting, where souls come to be washed clean of pain and memory, drifting peacefully toward rebirth. If you were to touch its surface, you might feel your own name slipping from your thoughts, a soft unraveling of who you once were, until all that remains is peace. Nico D'Angelo, the boy who had seen too much too young, once lingered on its banks, tempted by the silence it offered, but chose instead to carry memory like a torch through the dark. Then there is Phlegethon, the river of fire, glowing red like molten glass, burning not with heat, but with the anguish of regret and punishment. Here the river roars beside Tartarus, lashing its flames against the rocks, and those who pass too close say they hear voices screaming their secrets into the steam. Percy once felt the heat on his face while standing at the gates of the damned, wondering what it meant to suffer forever, and whether he too might one day burn for the choices he had made. Acheron, the river of sorrow, flows slow and wide like a mourning song, carrying the weight of 1,000 silent goodbyes. It is said that the newly dead cross this river first, ferried by Charon's creaking boat, and some say you can see their faces in the water, still confused, still weeping, not yet ready to let go. Even Annabeth, brave and sharp, once clenched her jaw in its presence, her eyes haunted by the losses she had already endured. And finally, there is Cocytus, the river of wailing, where the waters are cold and blue and echo with voices that refuse to be forgotten. This river is not wide or fast, but it is filled with sound, whispers, cries, laments that never end. Those who have been wronged, those who died unfinished, drift along its current like memories too stubborn to fade. Even Hades avoids this place when he can, for not all voices in Cocytus are strangers to him. Together, these 5 rivers form the veins of the underworld, pulsing with sorrow and silence, promise and pain. And if you ever walk beside them in dream or myth, remember to listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart, for the rivers do not forget. They carry everything the living let go of, broken oaths, forgotten names, unspoken griefs, scorching regrets, and voices left behind. And when they speak, they do so gently, as if cradling you towards sleep, reminding you that even in death there is movement, and in movement, perhaps, a kind of peace. In the hush that follows a soul's arrival at the edge of death, past the 5 whispering rivers and beneath the arch of the blackened sky, lies a grand marble hall that no mortal has ever seen in waking life, but many have dreamed of, a place where time stops and destiny speaks. And here the 3 judges sit, clad not in robes of gold or crowns of laurel, but in the quiet dignity of memory. The judges of the dead are not faceless figures, but once kings who knew both power and failure in life. The first is Minos, the former king of Crete, whose sharp eyes miss nothing and whose decisions are swift. He is the judge of law, and his voice is a hammer, firm, final, and carved into stone. He listens for lies with a heart trained by betrayal, and even the gods honor his verdicts. Then there is Rhadamanthus, his brother, who once ruled with justice so pure that the underworld welcomed him as a guide. He is the judge of truth, and while his eyes are kind, they see everything, every regret, every flicker of remorse, every hope buried under fear. It's said that Rhadamanthus smiles when he finds even the smallest kindness in a soul, and that his sentence always offers a path toward healing. Finally, there is Aeacus, who judges with silence more than words. He listens not only to the dead, but to the echoes they leave behind, the way they spoke to their children, the way they died, the way they loved or failed to. Each soul that enters the hall must stand before these 3 and bear everything, and there are no speeches, no appeals, no armor to hide behind. Not even the bravest demigod is exempt. When Percy Jackson once brushed against this place in a dream, he saw a line of the newly dead stretching into the mist, some trembling, some singing, some weeping softly into their hands, each holding the weight of a life lived too fast. The judges do not speak to one another, yet they seem to know each other's thoughts, and together they choose where a soul belongs. Most are sent to the fields of asphodel, a gray windless expanse where nothing truly hurts, but nothing truly heals. A place for those who lived lives neither wicked nor brave, who drift through eternity like forgotten dreams. Some are cast into Tartarus, that pit of endless torment, where monsters and traitors scream beneath a red sky, punished forever for acts so dark even the judges flinch. But a rare few, a precious few, are sent to the Elysian fields, golden and green, where music plays and the sky is always dusk. There, the greatest heroes rest, their burdens gone, their names still whispered above by those who remember. And for those rare souls who achieve Elysium 3 times, they may choose rebirth into a new life, or passage to the isles of the blessed, where even death cannot touch them again. The judges never explain their choices, but it is said that they judge not only the actions of a person, but their intentions, the courage it takes to forgive, the quiet moments of kindness no one else saw, the times they chose love when they could have chosen anger. In one tale, a soul who had been cruel in youth but gave their final years to healing others was placed in Elysium because Rhadamanthus saw the truth of their change, while another, who had led armies and built cities, was sent to Asphodel because they had done it all for pride. In this hall, power means nothing. Titles are forgotten. Only the story of your heart remains. Even Nico D'Angelo once felt their gaze, and though he feared judgment, he was not cast away, for they saw in him a grief turned into bravery, and a love buried in shadows that still refused to die. The 3 judges sit eternally beneath a ceiling that drips starlight, surrounded by the hush of finality, and they do not sleep. Their task is endless. Their silence is sacred. And when you listen closely in dreams, you might hear the low murmur of their voices deciding fates not yet lived, as if your story too is already waiting in line, quiet, bare, and ready to be seen. Hidden in a place no living being can reach without death or permission, beyond the groaning gates in the fields of drifting souls, there lies a miracle, Persephone's garden, the only spot in the entire underworld where something grows not because it escapes death, but because it understands it. It is not a garden in the mortal sense with tidy rows or sunny air. It is moonlit, dreamlike, a secret orchard where night-blooming flowers open like quiet prayers and silver leaves shimmer with the dew of Lethe. At the center is a twisted fig tree that grows upside down, its roots reaching up as if mourning the sky it cannot see, while petals fall in reverse, rising from the ground, swirling into the air like ash carried by memory. This garden is Persephone's heart made manifest. Once a goddess of spring, her touch still remembers the warmth of sunlight, the smell of honeyed wind, and the freedom of running barefoot through meadows. But she is also now the queen of the dead, and the garden reflects both truths. There are pomegranate trees whose fruit glows from within like tiny beating hearts, and their juice stains the lips of spirits who dare to taste them. Some say those who eat from her garden stay longer in the underworld than they should, not because they are trapped, but because they forget why they wanted to leave. The air is thick with lullaby-scented magic, the soft hum of bees made of bone and starlight, and the rustle of leaves whispering old names. The flowers bloom in cycles that match no earthly season, ghost lilies that only open when a soul passes by, despair roses that grow where tears fall, and joy vines that shimmer golden only when a loved one is remembered. Persephone walks the paths barefoot, her gown trailing black vines and tiny spring buds, her gaze heavy with memory. She speaks little here, for the garden is her sanctuary, away from Hades' throne, away from judgment, away from the weight of her crown. But when she does speak, the petals lean toward her voice, and even the spirits hush. Demigods like Nico D'Angelo and even Percy have glimpsed this place through dreams or strange in-between moments, each time unsure if what they saw was real or just the mind's attempt to make death less terrifying. But make no mistake, the garden is real. It exists not in defiance of death, but as a gift from it. For Persephone, who was taken, who became both seed and soil, both captive and queen, this is her magic, not loud or violent like a sword, but soft, slow, enduring. In the chaos of the underworld, where rivers scream and monsters crawl and souls weep for lives unfinished, her garden is still, timeless, safe. It is said that once a year, on the day she must return to the world above, the garden dims, not dies, not wilts, but waits. It curls into itself like a sleeping cat, holding its breath until she returns. Some flowers won't bloom without her, and the bees buzz slower, as if missing her shadow. Hades, for all his power, never steps here without her permission. Even Cerberus, the mighty three-headed guardian of the gates, whimpers and curls outside the archway, unwilling to disturb what is sacred. For Persephone is not just queen of the dead. She is the only life death allows to stay. And in her garden, you don't feel grief. You feel what comes after. The peace, the memory, the quiet acceptance that life was beautiful, and so is this. Some say that when demigods die with honor, if they're lucky, They're allowed a single walk through her garden before judgment, not to change their fate, but to remember who they were. It is a gift of softness in a world of sharp ends. And maybe that's the greatest power of all. Not the ability to escape the underworld, but to plant something inside it that still grows. There is a place in the underworld where no judgment is passed, no coin is required, and no names are spoken aloud, only whispered. A place where spirits drift, not in chaos or punishment, but in longing. Along the banks of the River Lethe, where memories dissolve like ink in water, there lies a hidden stretch called the Whispering Shore. Here, among mist and moss, souls who cannot let go sit silently by the river's edge, cradling thoughts they never had the courage to say in life. In the world of the living, closure is a luxury. Words are left unspoken. Apologies die in the throat. Love is assumed but never confessed, and anger festers past the grave. But here, in this forgotten place, the souls are given a second chance, not to return, not to fix, but to release. Each spirit is granted a single page, blank and endless, which appears in their palm like a warm breath of wind. Some write with ink, others with tears. A few simply hold the page and let emotion etch itself across the surface. These letters are never sent, never delivered. Yet somehow those they are meant for often feel them. A mortal may suddenly cry for no reason, hearing a voice they can't explain in a dream. Or they may stumble upon a half-remembered memory at a crossroads, feel a sudden forgiveness during a sunrise, or sense a loved one's laughter echo in a quiet room. These are the letters speaking, not through mail, not through magic, but through feeling. Percy Jackson, though alive, once glimpsed this place in a near-death moment. He saw letters written by enemies asking for peace, friends hoping they hadn't been forgotten, and parents aching to say, "I'm proud." He watched Nico D'Angelo stand frozen before a letter that glowed with silvery pain, the handwriting unmistakably Bianca's. She hadn't said goodbye before she died, but here, on the river's edge, she had finally found the words. Even the gods don't interfere here. Not Hermes, the messenger. Not Hades, the ruler. This place belongs to the dead and their last truth. The river glows faintly with lost memories, and every now and then a letter is folded into a tiny boat and released onto the current, not to be read, but to be forgotten properly. For some souls, this is the final act before they drink from the Lethe and fade into blissful amnesia. For others, it is the first step toward Elysium, because only those who have let go can truly rest. Among the pages are heartbreaks written in silence, a warrior's regret for the things he never said to his son, a girl's whispered apology to the mother she stole from, a brother's longing to rewrite one moment of selfishness. There are confessions of love, guilt, shame, hope. No one judges them. The ghosts don't read each other's words. They sit beside one another in shared solitude, warmed by the knowledge that someone would have listened even if too late. The shore is littered with lanterns that never dim, glowing with the soft hue of human honesty. Some float into the mist, others are tucked into the crook of a tree root, guarded by silent owls who never blink. Occasionally, a new soul arrives in terror, confused and frantic, and an older spirit will gently offer their own unwritten letter as comfort, as if to say, "Take your time. We all had something left unsaid." This is the place where silence is not emptiness, but permission, a sacred space where the act of writing becomes the act of healing, where love, even after death, finds its way into the wind. It's said that if you ever visit the Whispering Shore in a dream, just once, you'll wake with the memory of someone you forgot to mourn. And in that moment, if you listen closely, you might hear a letter unfolding with your name at the top. Far beyond the noise of mortal ambition and divine spectacle, beyond the roaring gates and endless rivers, lies a quiet chamber carved not of stone, but of stillness itself, the judge's silent room. It is not marked on any map, and even the souls who pass through the underworld often don't know when they've been there. One moment, they are drifting through the shadows, and the next, they are standing in an infinite hall with no beginning and no end, bathed in soft light that seems to come from their own memories. This is where Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Iacchus dwell, not as gods, nor as men, but as ancient echoes who have been granted the impossible task of judging every soul that has passed into death. They do not speak. They do not wear robes of gold or hold scales in their hands. Instead, each judge listens, not to the pleas of the dead, but to the echo of the life they lived. In this room, the soul plays itself like a silent film, every word uttered in kindness, every betrayal whispered in fear, every small act of mercy or malice replayed not to shame, but to understand. The judges watch, not with eyes, but with the calm weight of eternity in their presence. It is said that even the gods have stood before them, that Hades himself once placed his crown upon the stone bench and asked the judges to weigh his actions in a century of war. Even he, Lord of the dead, did not receive a word, only a pause, long enough to carry meaning. In the world of Percy Jackson, mortals have often wondered what happens when a demigod dies. Are they punished for the violence they committed in war? Are they rewarded for saving lives? The truth, as Nico once glimpsed, is more poetic than punitive. In the silent room, the soul is not sentenced. It is understood heroes, like Silena Beauregard, whose final act was redemption, are shown not just their sins, but the reasons behind them. Even Luke Castellan, traitor and host of Kronos, passed through this room. And the judges, seeing the scars of abandonment, the flicker of regret in his last moments, said nothing. But when the door opened, it led not to punishment, but to rest. For the silent room knows that humans are not built of black and white. They are stitched together from choices made in pain, in love, in desperation. The room itself is lined with invisible strings, like harp wires, and as each soul walks through, the strings hum, playing the unique music of that life. Some songs are bright, pulsing with laughter and curiosity. Others are jagged, interrupted, unfinished. The judges do not assign meaning. They only listen, and the soul, hearing its own music for the first time, often begins to weep, not out of fear, but out of release. It is here that monsters have found peace and kings have found humility. It is here that the fates themselves, when questioned, sent even their own creations to be weighed, not to be controlled, but to be seen. Percy Jackson once stood near the edge of this place when escorting a soul to the fields of Asphodel. The room had no doors, no guards, and no fire, only stillness. He watched as a spirit entered, and though no one spoke, he understood something profound, that justice is not a sentence. It is a song, and whether it is played loud or soft, dissonant or pure, every life deserves to be heard. In dreams, some mortals find themselves in this room, reliving old choices, speaking to the child they once were, or sitting beside a stranger who looks just like the version of themselves they might have been. And when they wake, they are quieter, softer, as if they left something behind that needed to stay in the dark. The silent room holds no records, no scrolls, no files. It holds only memory and the ability to hold it gently. Those who walk away from it do so not with verdicts, but with understanding. And maybe that's the greatest judgment of all. Not what you did, but whether you've come to see it. And in the long halls of the underworld, where even the gods lose their tempers and the monsters never forget, the silent room endures, not as a court, but as a mirror. For in the end, the deepest truth is not what the world thinks of you, but what you think of yourself when the music finally stops. In the deepest part of the underworld, beyond the myth and memory, past the judge's hall and the rivers of sorrow, there lies a place where silence folds in on itself, and from that silence, a soft echo rises. It is the quietest place in Percy Jackson's world, and yet, perhaps, the most powerful. The resting point of every soul, every truth, every god who was ever forgotten, and every monster who was once misunderstood. This is not Tartarus. This is not Elysium. This is not a battlefield of punishment or reward. It is the Garden of Endings, a place where the stories told in anger, love, revenge, and sacrifice finally come to rest. And in that final breath of silence, the magic of the underworld blooms one last time. Here, the ground is dusted with silver petals, memories fallen from the minds of mortals above. Forgotten prayers, lost dreams, whispers from bedtime stories. And yet, even here, in this final hush, the gods are watching. Hades walks alone sometimes, not as a king, but as a mourner. Persephone walks beside him, her hands brushing the petals, reminding him that even endings can feel like spring. Cerberus naps beneath a willow of bone, and tucked in the distance, where the roots stretch down into myth itself, there is a stone bench where demigods once sat and asked, "Did it matter?" The answer, of course, cannot be spoken, because the underworld doesn't give answers, it reflects. It shows you every step you took, every bridge you burned or rebuilt, and every path you carved through a world of gods and monsters. Percy stood here once, for just a second, not during battle, not in crisis, but in a dream after all the wars were over. He saw the petals, the stillness, and a familiar face. Bianca. She didn't speak. She just smiled, that soft smile of forgiveness, and vanished into mist. And Percy, for the first time, understood. Some things don't need to be fixed. They just need to be remembered. And so, as you close your eyes now and drift into this dream of shadows and rivers and glowing coins, remember that the underworld is not a place of fear. It's a place of perspective, of stories half told and memories barely held together. But they're yours, and they're waiting. You've traveled from the shores of the Styx to the edge of Lethe. You've met the ferrymen and followed the judges. You've seen how monsters feel grief and how gods carry their own regrets. You've walked with Nico through the quiet, with Persephone through the blooming dark, and with Hades through the weight of eternity. And now the path fades. The coins clink softly in your pocket. The last torch flickers out, and the darkness around you isn't cold anymore. It's warm, soft, and cradling. You are no longer a visitor. You're a dreamer. And the underworld, strange as it seems, is now your lullaby. Sleep, little dreamer. Let the myths carry you. Let the voices fall silent. Let the gods watch over your breath. For in this world of ancient echoes and forgotten truths, you are safe. You are home.